If you want to find graphics cards, bitcoins, and even some of the most expensive items in the games like the valuable armbands, then this stash run guide is the perfect video for you. If you're, a new player, or you're still in the lower levels of the game, or maybe you just had a bad streak and the money isn't coming in as well, a stash run on Interchange is both fast and a very good way to get money without a lot of risk, or even no risk. You really don't need to bring that much to do the stash run, because the biggest benefit of doing a stash run is that there's not many players that will be opposing you while you're looting these stashes. So let's get right into it. So we spawned here on the Idea side. Idea is just over there. We're by the fence and the big rock. There's two ways to do this stash run, just like every other video. So if you spawn on the Ollie side, just go in reverse. So the first stash we're actually going to want to check is actually right beside us. So if we get this big rock spawn, we're only just going to want to head slightly to our right. And as you can see, we have the stash in between these two massive rocks. So let's go ahead and give this a big loot. Got a DVD, might as well take it. We'll just be taking every item as you run through this. We're gonna run this way, is usually the way I go when I spawn next to the rocks, but you'll see throughout the video where all the stashes are, and then you can kind of make or decide the way you want to run this route. But I just run just to the left of this blue fence, because this next stash is actually going to be right beside the go-kart area. In fact, there's two stashes here. There's one right beside the go-kart area, and there's one inside the go-kart area. The next stash we're going to be looking at is just beyond the hole right here in this bush. So this one's a little hard to see. Don't forget to look through the grass for this one, but shouldn't be too bad. Select the items here. Now we're gonna run through the hole right here. Before, you used to be able to walk sideways over these, but with the recent patch Tarkov got to jumping, you actually have to jump over each one of these tires. There's no fast way over that. And the next stash is going to be in this bush right here. This one's a grassy stash. It's a little hard to see, so we're going to loot that. It's in the center of the go-kart area, but I'll look around so you guys know exactly where it is, so you have an idea. Literally, an idea. But anyway, we're going to run out the hole we just came in. Oh, actually, I just ran over that one. Still let me run over that one. Well, let me run over this one. And we're gonna run out beyond our last stash right there. Gonna run out this way over the gated fence there. You can also spawn here. So this is, if you get this spawn, you'll basically be the first one at the stash. You can spawn just on the road beyond this stash or next to it. So we have to crouch for this one as we hit our head in the concrete. I'm gonna go ahead and give this stash a loot. There we go. Walk back out, and we're gonna stand up. The next place we're gonna want to go is we're gonna run basically to the railway exfil. I will say that if you are gonna find people anywhere, usually it will be towards the start of the raid, because another player will immediately start looting the stashes. Depending on which way you are going, you might either run into him, you might be following behind him. It's not common though. It's not common though. But that is where you would see the other players, closer to the start, or closer to the extracts. However, if you start doing the stash run at the start of the raid, not that many people are going to be extracting closer to the start of the raid. So you'll only end up running into another person if somehow they loaded Interchange and went, oh crap, I actually don't want to play on this map, and they run to extract immediately. So around the extracts, or believe it or not, if someone has decided to extract camp while you're doing the loot run, you might also run into them in that case. Again, not very common, pretty rare. You don't see a lot of players, but it's possible, or the highest chance of seeing another player would be around that time. But anyway, we're going to pass the railway exfil, which is right behind us. We're going to head towards the back wall here because our stash is in this pile of rubble in this stone right in front of us. Let's go ahead and give this a loot. As you can see, only sorry that honestly that cache should be sorry for that's all that it gave us. That is just unacceptable for a stash. If I get one of the armbands right now, I'll be very upset seeing that this is an off-run raid. But anyways, our last stash is right there. We're just gonna run directly south of it, and right along these bushes here we have a leaf stash. So these stashes are pretty close together, not too hard to find. Thor body armor, that's pretty good. Go ahead and take that. Well, some paracord. Now I have max strength, so that's why like all of this stuff won't hinder my speed whatsoever. It's kind of broken, but is what it is. So there's where our last stash was. We're just gonna run down slightly to the left towards this rubble pile, and we should have another stash right in here. Let's go ahead and loot that one. CPU fan, USB A. Next thing we're gonna want to do after looting this stash is we're gonna run around past this orange container here. Let's go up past the container. As soon as we pass it, we're gonna hang a little bit of a left. We're looking for a small little campsite between these pools. Sometimes I lose my footing here. I haven't looted these stashes in a while. There's the campsite right there, and next to some of these trees, as you can see, the stash is right here. So if you look south of this campsite, you look for these little spread of trees here right by the water next to one of the ones in this middle. As you see, there's a lot of trees around it. We have a small little container stash right here. Loot these. Big grenade went into my black rock. Now we're just gonna run directly along this sand here, the water on our right, and we will find that there is another stash for us just on the peak of this last little hill. As you can see, if we ran alongside the water, the hill kind of ends here and kind of turns left. The peak here, right next to this massive tree, is another grass stash. Grass stash. Anyways, chlorine for us. Again, not the best. Keep in mind that when you do offline raids, the quality of what you get in terms of loot is worse. That's just because Nikita does not want you to find everything offline. You want you to do some exploring online as well, which is completely fair to him, so just keep that in mind. You'll be finding better items while you're online. But anyway, we're gonna run directly on the highway now from that last stash. As you can see, the PMC scav extract is just behind, underneath that orange container right there. We're gonna be running along the road. Now, you might find some players in this spot just because some players might actually come to kill the scavs if they have scav kill quests. So be a little careful in this area, as well as there's going to be probably 2 to 3 scavs around this part. They can usually spawn behind the wall, but they might be in this area next to this tanker, so just be very mindful of that. And we're going to take the grass path. I'm going to go head left. And I'd like to take this grass path because there's a little trench here, as you can see we're walking in. It's a little dip. So you're a little less harder to be spotted from anyone who might be sniping out the front of the mall or running out to extract for whatever reason. We're going to run along until we hit the stone wall. As soon as you hit the stone wall, you want to take a left, turn in, and there is a stash right next to this massive tree. So right after the sign here, go ahead and hit the stash right next to this massive tree. Let's see what we get. A hot rod and screws. Not the best, but it's all right. It's free loot. Let's take it. Now, after that stash, I usually take a right to head back into the trench to be a little more or a little less visible. We're gonna run along here, staying in the trench line on this right. Keep going, keep going. Now, this isn't a stash. This is just a loot box, but I always hit this loot box because, honestly, I call this my lucky purple loot box. I get some of the best loot in this. I get USBs if you're looking for those. I get rollers, clocks, Bitcoins, any of those rare valuable spawns, lions, could be in this purple suitcase right here. So we might as well check it, especially on this loot run, on the stash run. Look, power bank right there. Shatter mask, decent stuff. And a little, you know, an icy green drink if you're thirsty. Like what's so wrong about that? And there's also a nice little ammo box. I was saying it right. I've honestly found a lot of AP ammo in here, so things like RIP as well, some of those rare ammos that might cost a little bit. I think this is actually, I can't remember if this is a good round or not, the SP round. You have some SP7, which is good like meta round, but anyways, let's continue. After the lucky purple box, we head left through the gap here. There's the purple box, and we jump over this right next to this massive tower of the mall, and just on the opposite side of it, next to the small tree, is another stash. Let's go ahead and give this a quick looting. Never hurt, never hurt. We go, got some TP, now we can wipe, so if you're ever on a loot run and you have a dirty diaper, you can always wipe right there. That's another reason why we hit these stashes, just because I typically am dirty sometimes. So, anyways, south, or I should say, if this is north, I don't know why I'm breaking it down this much. If this is north, west of the Ultra sign, again, we have a nice little trench here next to this destroyed truck. We're gonna run just around this truck, next to the small tree ahead of us and the much larger tree. In between that is another stash. So let's go ahead and give that a quick looting. Perfect, perfect. What we got, what we get, what we get. Oh, this is the full one. Got some painkillers for when we're in pain. Never hurt nobody. Okay, let's get, can we take, okay, we're gonna have to do some inventory management here just to grab all this loot. Go. More TP, maybe you have a really dirty bum, who knows. Loot the hot rod and the rubles. You know, I don't judge based on bum dirtiness, but, well, actually, maybe a little bit. I would judge you, not gonna lie. But just to the left of the stash, the other stash, you can see the tree we just left was right there. We're coming just along the grass line, blue fence on our right. We have another stash just before the fire campsite, right here, in between these two trees. It's a grass stash, so this one's a little hard to see. Go ahead and give this a loot. We got a armor piece for that gray helmet. I forget what it's called right now. A pistol, that's always good. You can find a bunch of, I found a bunch of MP7s constantly doing this loot run. SMGs, I've found some MDRs, stuff like that as well if you're looking for guns. Now we're gonna have to make some space. Honestly, the Fast MT is a tier 1 helmet, only really good for ricochet chance. We're gonna drop that. Take, even just the elite pliers is probably worth more than that helmet. Not gonna lie. Maybe if you don't have a helmet, obviously put it on, but I have a helmet because I'm wearing some gear. I was doing some raids. You might as well check this sports bag next to the campfire just beyond the stash we just looted, just because the sports bag can have graphics cards, bitcoins in it. So definitely worth checking out, as well as, you know, other various fun items. Morphine. Gonna go ahead and take that. Our next stash, just beyond the fire barrel we just looted, is gonna be right next to the big tree we're running towards right now, that little Y tree. Just here, covered by these bushes here in between these trees. Nice little grass stash for us. We're gonna tank that. Another Fast MT. We find a lot of, I find a lot of these in helmets, but luckily we got a teapot, so I'm gonna drop the screwdriver, that's better. Drop the USB. Actually, yeah, drop the gun sight for the PSU, and that's because we use PSUs to make capacitors. Are pretty valuable in the stash if you are, sorry, in the hideout if you have that. After looting that stash, we're gonna want to run again. I always like to run into the trench here, so you're a little lower, less visible. Run alongside the street. We're gonna go straight until we hit a campsite. And there's two stashes here. I've even seen people hit one of these stashes and miss the other one, because honestly, they are pretty concealed, and sometimes people don't know about both of them. Maybe they found one. So just beyond this bush here, we see these weapon boxes. We see a campsite. And just behind the weapon boxes here is a stash. This one's very hard to see. It's very well concealed. But just behind those weapon boxes, look for them. If you cannot find the stash, you'll find it. Another good armor. See, a sugar there. There's 100k we just made. We're gonna drop the sorry because, and we're not sorry about that. Ha ha ha. Hilarious. We're gonna drop the smoke grenade and take the power cord because those are good for making, what is it? Wires. That's what it is. And then the next stash, if you just cross the campfire here, right next to this tree, right in here behind these boxes, another one. Another fast MT. A lot of fast MTs in this run. I'm gonna drop the ice cream for that. Actually, the toilet paper, oddly enough, is probably less valuable. But anyway, at this point, if you have enough loot, you can just run to the Emercom extraction, which we're gonna go up and pass here. But for the sake of this guide, I'm just gonna run past it and show the rest of the stashes. But let's go ahead and run alongside so you can see here. That's the back of Ollie. There's the main road that leads to the Emercom extraction. Again, when you're running to the Emercom extraction, you gotta watch out for the extract campers. They're gonna be along here, along these bush lines. Always look around here. Some people can hide in the tents, so you gotta watch out for that. People could also just be extracting at the same time as you, and if that's the case, a lot of people who come from the mall might path down the grass here. And there is another stash there, so again, watch those areas where you're coming to the extract. But anyways, let's continue with these stashes. The next stash is gonna be past the Emercom extract by these rocks right here. You wanna look for these rocks. They stand out pretty well, so it's not too hard to find this one. In between these rock piles is our stash right here, right next to the massive rock, so pretty easy to find. Another stash for us. Just gonna see what's inside this. Well, perfect, we got some. So what would I do? Honestly, I wouldn't take any of those. If you need the cigarettes for your mechanic quest, good idea to take them when you're doing the stash runs. But we're just gonna run towards the power plant now, which is on that just over there beyond this wall, which is where we're gonna find our additional stashes, the only two that we haven't found yet. So let's go ahead and make for that. I do want to point out, as we're passing the no bag extract, if you decide to do a stashes without a backpack, you can run just south of this big red container right here in this gap is an extract if you aren't carrying a backpack. So if you're doing these stash runs without a backpack, maybe you're just going for a quick few stashes and you're out, you got a GPU or something like that, you can run right here and extract. And another thing I want to mention is if you are doing the stashes and maybe you spawn that way and you're running towards the power station, some people, when exiting the mall, jump down onto this red shipping container and run to the extract from there. Maybe they're doing quests, they got their quest item, they're doing a quick whoop, pop, pop. So when you're running past this way, if you aren't taking this extract, just take a look up there. It doesn't hurt, just to make sure no one's jumping in on you. Because honestly, I have run these stash runs before and I've died from someone on top of this orange container. We just happen to run each other at the same time. So anyways, let's keep going towards the power station. Okay, now as we start heading toward the power station, we can see it now. The first stash is actually going to be on our right. So as soon as this fence swings a little bit right in front of the power station, then there's the ramp up into the mall. You want to follow the fence along right. And just behind that last little bush there where the white and blue fence connect is another stash. Picked an idea rig. Honestly, if this was a live game, you could start, actually, no, I'll do it because let's get the optimal example. I would start throwing stuff in the stash in the rig, sorry, and then just taking the rig like that. And that's because the rig will actually hold more space than it takes. As you can see, it's a 3x2. I don't know if I'm saying the dimensions right. And this is a 4x2. So we gain some space for taking the rig, and you can sell the rig. So it holds more space, it gives you positive space, and you can then sell the rig after as well. So now we're gonna head through these generators. The stash we just looted was right there towards the final stash. Now, honestly, again, not a stash. I sometimes run, when I'm running this way, along the back fence, there's a couple of buildings that are open, and there's a weapon crate there, and there's a toolbox there. And there's also another toolbox in here. I actually hit these while I'm doing the stash run, because why not? They're in the way. Might as well get the loot. It's not much of a deviation from the path. But we're gonna run. You can run along the white fence if you like, or you can weave through the generators to be a little less visible. There's the car extract. If you also wish to take the car extract, gain some scav rep, you can do that as well. Or maybe you have some good items, you pay the car and you get on with your way. But the last and final stash of the map is right here where the yellow pipe kind of hits this wall right behind the power station. There it is. The final stash at this point. Ooh, those are some nice items. We're probably going to drop the Shattered Mask at this point. So anyways, guys, that is all the stashes on Interchange. If you found this video helpful, let me know. And if you grab some graphics cards, if you ever even find the Twitch armband, then you've made more money than you'd probably find in the mall, especially with how much safer the stash run would be. So I also changed my microphone and webcam recently. So if you're here watching right to the end of the video, feel free to let me know how those look and how I sound. And I hope this guide has helped you. See you in the next one.